I'm Hillary Hendershot, your host, and this is Profit Boss Radio, The Retirement Years, episode 166. The Retirement Years on Profit Boss Radio is your weekly wealth building and retirement mastermind. Profit Boss is also a movement for women who want to reach their full wealth potential and be financially free. Let me be your guide as you defy the odds, take control of your money, grow your wealth, and retire well. Do you want the secrets of wealth and retirement to be yours? This is the place. I'm Hillary Hendershot. I'm a certified financial planner running a leading advisory firm for women and couples, and I'm sharing with you real stories from real life and real people who are making it happen. Forget Wall Street. You ready? Let's do this. Hello, Profit Boss. Today we are talking about earning money. If you're going to build wealth and attain financial independence, you do have to earn that coin. My guest today is an expert at earning on her own terms. You might find this especially relevant to you in the middle of 2020, the global coronavirus pandemic. Many of you have seen your income dry up, and still more of you might be reconsidering what's really important to you based on recent events. If that's the case, my guest today has a free gift for you. She wants to teach you how to get paid to be you, but more on that later in the conversation. Natalie Sisson is here with me today. She's an author, speaker, host of the Untapped Podcast, which you should definitely check out. Natalie ditched a successful corporate career, and since that, she turned that content and knowledge into 8 different revenue streams. These days, she's passionate about helping others leverage their unique set of skills, knowledge, and experience to earn a living and make an impact from anywhere, simply by being them. So, Natalie, first, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't often start podcast interviews with the phrase, tell us your story. I think it can be a little overused, but lady, I think you need to tell us your story. Can you give us the high level? How and why did you pivot from the track to corporate success to digital nomad?
Yeah, great question. I think it was a bit of a calling, 8 years in the corporate world. And now I've been 12 years as an entrepreneur. That always blows my mind. Just that you can start a business from nothing and still be here 12 years later. And it's just incredible. I think hats off to all entrepreneurs. However,
right.
How I did that, I feel is like, and for many listening, I had the perfect job on paper. When I got to London, I'd kind of rise up the levels of the corporate ranks, found myself as head of propositions development for a massive organization, got to help doctors become entrepreneurs. It felt so great, well paid. And yet I was so restricted in that job, Hillary. It was so restricted. There was so much office politics, bureaucratics, and a little piece of me felt like it died every single day I went into the office. And I had never experienced that before. Not really. You have days and time and job when you don't love it, but most of the time I felt really good and on purpose and productive and fulfilled. And this was just like every day it felt like I was actually fighting against the people in the organization to do the job that they brought me in to do. I kid you not. And I was like, why am I battling this? Like, why won't they let me do what they brought me in to do?
Like, what's the point?
Exactly. I remember waking up one morning in London in Clapham, where I was living, and I didn't want to get out of bed, and I took a sick day. And I never take a sick day. One, I never get sick, and 2, I never take a sick day. And then I think I took the next day as well. And I was like, wow, you just need to fess up and own up to what this really is. And 2 weeks later, I'd handed in my notice and was out of there. And I just remember making that decision very consciously and very quickly. And all my friends were stunned because I just invested in a house in London with a friend. And I had my community there, ultimate Frisbee players and all these amazing friends. And I said, you know what, I'm buying a one-way ticket to Canada and I'm out to just go and do my own thing. Play World Championship Ultimate Frisbee. So there was a reason. But when I got there, I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And people were like, why would you leave this great job and security? Because I was like, it's making me miserable. And I feel like I'm meant for more. So that is the long and short of how I guess, quit that corporate world. And then in Vancouver, I co-founded a tech company with a guy that I met over wine and cheese at a networking event. Again, kid you not. And my exact words to him, as you probably remember from my TED talk, were, I'm a homeless, unemployed bum, and I'm really good at marketing and business development. He's like, great, we should talk. So I kind of always get people to just be a little bit honest and out there because you never know where it leads you. And we started that business in the recession of 2008. And I blogged at the time about this amazing experience of being an entrepreneur and the roller coaster highs and lows and everything I was experiencing in a male-dominated tech industry.
Yeah.
And that blog became my baby, and I turned it into the vehicle and the path and the platform that allowed me to become a digital nomad. So how I got to that is I realized that once I'd launched a few courses physically, like as workshops, I could take them online. And if I could take it online and earn money, then I could do it from anywhere in the world. And I loved traveling. And I thought, let's give this a shot.
So that was your slow pivot, because leaving the corporate gig, that was a burn the bridge and nuke the river kind of a move.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, exactly. You do that when you're a little bit younger and wise. Not that young. I was like 27 at the time, 27, 28.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big time because, you're setting yourself up for this great career. And I was like, let's start from scratch.
Okay, so you changed countries, chased the ultimate Frisbee dream. How did that go, by the way? Did you rise to the ranks there?
We came 5th. We did pretty well. America always dominates, and other countries as well. Actually, but I think we did really well for a small country, New Zealand, who I was representing over there.
Yeah. And so then you were living in Canada and you were doing the full-time tech thing, and you decided to make a slow pivot out to doing something that really didn't have anything to do with technology. Mm-hmm. So was it just wanderlust that you eventually got out of your system? Because you're living in a home that you own right now, right?
Yeah. I think I've always loved traveling ever since I was a kid. Like since age 6, Mum and Dad, who were both from Europe, started taking us overseas on trips, and I'm very grateful for that. And when I got to London, like so many people do, they start there with their OE, especially if you're from New Zealand or down under. And a lot of people end up in London. And I was like, I don't want to end up in London. Canada, I'd never been. And then once I'd been there for 2 years, I was like, there's so many other places I want to see. And I feel like this business gave me the opportunity to be able to work from anywhere, mm-hmm. which ultimately meant I could travel the world. Like that was living the dream in my mind. And also the freedom from having less and just being able to up and go and do whatever you want and still earn money while you were doing it was pretty damn appealing.
So you started earning money from the blog before you gave up the tech company income. Is that right?
No. Oh. I took another leap of faith there. In retrospect, it was quite bizarre, but I remember my business partner saying, Nat, you're so passionate about this blog, maybe you should turn it into a business. We really want you here, but it feels like this is your thing. And I was like, what a great idea. And we talked through it, and I left about a month later. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have an email list. I don't have a way of earning any money. I have no business model behind this. I just love writing on my blog. This is going to be a do as I say, not as I did kind of interview. I think that, yes, but I would say the one piece of advice that I used to say to people is just take that leap and don't have a backup plan, because it's important that you make sure that's your one thing you go all in. And I've changed that advice over the years because I know for most people, they're probably not like me, and that would be scary as heck. So now I say at least a 3 to 6 month runway of savings and a sense of what you're going to do, so that you can, if all else goes to shit, you can fall back onto that. Yeah. But I still think there's something about having a very clear plan A, because if you have too many backup plans, you'll ultimately never take that leap and do it.
So there are bazillions of people trying to make a living with a blog. Mm-hmm. What makes you special? What was your differentiation? What do you think is the thing that had you make enough money to take that leap?
I think I was determined because I loved it so much that I wanted to make it work. And I was massively consistent, and I worked really hard on it day and night, which I wouldn't always suggest anymore, but I really put my all into it for at least the first 6 months, building community and writing like crazy and sharing my experiences in a really vulnerable, open way that was very much from a leading learner perspective. So I love this term, the leading learner. It doesn't mean you're an expert. It just means you're a couple of steps ahead of the person that wants to be where you are. And I've always come at my entire life as a leading learner. I don't actually love being called, I hate it when people call themselves gurus. I don't mind experts because you get to a certain status where I feel you are very qualified. But I love leading learner because it doesn't put so much emphasis on you knowing everything, but knowing enough that you can be useful to share and teach the person who's a couple of steps behind you to come up to speed. Mm-hmm. And I think I did that really well, and people really responded to it.
So were you teaching about traveling while being an entrepreneur? Or was it travel hacks? What were the kind of things you were teaching?
Ironically, it was nothing to do with travel aside from effective. It was actually all about building your online business while traveling the world. Okay. So for those people, I was that person teaching people how to build a business as I was building a business and getting paid for it. But I felt like I had a lot of relevant experience by that stage. I had built a tech company. I had all the years in corporate. I'd been in business development, and I had got some serious success in my business to be able to do it. Where the travel piece came in was showing how you can create a lifestyle so your business suits your lifestyle, doesn't take over it. And that was probably the key differentiator. I was probably one of the original gangsters, they call it, of digital nomadism in a world that was, again, full of men as digital nomads. So I think that was the bit that resonated again. It was one of the few women who were actually making it happen, traveling the world by myself and doing a pretty damn good job of it.
Okay, I definitely want to circle back to that. That I think is the culmination of the conversation I want to have with you, because I think the idea of consciously curating your freedom is super interesting and unique. That a lot of people have this idea that you're either laying in a hammock reading a fiction book, or you're working for somebody else, or sort of answering to the needs of the world. And so I think creating freedom inside a framework that works for you is something I definitely want to circle back to. Let me ask you this though. I have to tell you, I have traveled extensively, and I find it to be a little bit bothersome sometimes. There are inconveniences, there are inefficiencies. Sometimes you don't have network or internet, or you can't figure out where to get your falafel, or whatever that may be. I mean, honestly, if you need to write something and you're starving, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, how did you deal with that? Or do you anymore?
Yeah, I think that was probably, not going to sound Chris, I think that was probably one of my favorite parts of it.
Really?
Is that every single day you had to adapt and change and make do with what was in front of you. And for sure, some days it was incredibly irritating, or there would be no Wi-Fi, and I had a call or a coaching call, and I had to make a plan 67. And there were also times when, you just couldn't get the food that you liked, or you couldn't find a quiet space, or the taxi dropped you in the wrong place, or the Airbnb was booked, and all these things. But I loved it because it made me think on my feet and be really adaptable and responsive to change. And I think one of the biggest things as entrepreneurs, you need to be adapting all the time. So I think it kept me sharp. That's just it definitely got tiring after a while, which is why I'm now back in New Zealand enjoying my life. But that was probably because I traveled like a mofo at a huge speed of light and didn't slow travel, which I highly recommend. But I think the other thing that traveling really taught me was I would take those moments where I could work, and I would work intensively on the plane, in the airport, on the train. I can work in cars and planes and trains, which is quite lucky. But I loved that because it meant, I have a 2-hour flight. Great, I'm going to get this thing done. And then when I'd get to the destination, I could enjoy the destination. I think a lot of people aren't that lucky, and that they can't work while they travel, or they can't hunker down. But I used it as these short little, almost like Pomodoro sessions to get something done while I had the space and time.
I think I get it contextually, but can you define Pomodoro session?
Oh, yeah. So a Pomodoro, I should have explained, is 25 minutes of focus work on one thing. And I think it came from nothing to do with the Pomodoro tomato, but essentially you just set a timer on your phone or wherever for 25 minutes, and all you do is focus on one thing you want to achieve. It's a very short time. It goes very quickly. But if you do multiple Pomodoros in a row, you get a lot of work done in a short time, because it's that countdown timer that makes you focused on getting it done. It's almost like a little bit of external pressure and accountability.
Welcome to today's Money Wise segment, where I pop in the middle of the interview or podcast episode with a little tip or trick to promote your wealth and success. Today's Money Wise segment can actually save you real money. Many of you will remember Danielle Hayden from episode 154 of Profit Boss Radio. She owns Kickstart Accounting, and she works especially with small business owners. She reached out to me with a promotional offer just for Profit Boss Radio listeners. If you run a business where you make $500,000 in revenue annually or less, she is offering you $100 off the monthly cost of bookkeeping services. That's $1,200 a year, folks. That's real money. To take advantage of this offer, go to the show notes for today's episode and click on Danielle's link. That's hillaryhendershot.com/166 and use the code ProfitBoss. If you're running a business and you've been doing your own bookkeeping, this is the perfect opportunity to delegate that task so that you can get back to doing what your business needs you to do, which is making money. Enjoy. Okay, and so let's talk about the revenue streams back then, simply because I think it's my hypothesis that some of the possibilities from some of the things you did earn money from doing back then may not be likely for people anymore. But do you mind sharing just in terms of percentages? It sounds like you were blogging a lot. Was it ad revenue? What was the linchpin for you?
I had a super cheeky response to like, maybe people can't do it now. It's going to be, well, the selling of drugs definitely is one that I don't do anymore. No, I'm just kidding. So I started out with, it's a great question because the very first thing I did was consulting and, found a client that needed my social media expertise at the time because that's how we built our startup.
Okay.
And did consulting. And I didn't love that because it felt like I was basically getting paid to work for somebody else still, even though it wasn't a job.
Yeah.
And then I ran an actual social media boot camp, a live workshop in Vancouver over 2 days, sold it out, ran 3 of them, and went from pretty much being broke, because remember I said I didn't have any way of making money, to about $15,000 in a month, which was huge for me. And then I was like, okay, what if I took this workshop that was physical, in-person, online? Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing that I monetized, was turning a physical workshop into an online course. And then I created a digital ebook, which was all about the tools you need, the ultimate toolkit for entrepreneurs, evolutionary entrepreneurs, I think I called it. I've always loved tools, technology, systems, apps. And so it was a full-on, beautifully designed toolkit that all the tools you need to run your online business.
Yeah.
Then I remember putting together a blog series and I turned it into a paid guide, and it was called Build Your Online Business. And it was actually epic to this day. One of the proudest things I've done. Put so much work into it. And the ebook sold like hotcakes, created an audio book, created a combo of the two, just got really smart about my marketing and offerings, and continued to listen to my audience and what they needed. And from there was definitely some affiliate marketing. So some commissions coming in from all those tools that I loved using. I actually never did ads on my blog. I never did AdSense or anything, but I did get sponsorships then for my podcast, which I'd started in 2012.
You never sold ads on your blog?
No. Sorry, I think I dabbled in it for like a month and it just didn't feel in alignment. Even though I had really good volume of traffic after a while, it just, right. I don't know. I felt like, why would I advertise for somebody else when I could be advertising my own stuff? So I always reserve that space on my site for my products and services.
Kudos to you.
Yeah, this is the choice I took. I also did one-to-one coaching, which I then turned into group coaching, which I then turned into online programs with live coaching. And then I published my book.
Oh my gosh. Like a Swiss Army knife, you do everything.
Well, I feel like once you get the key to knowing what great content and offers are, you can repurpose them in so many different ways to suit the needs of the person. Like if they like reading, put it in a written format. If they love audio, put it in an audio book format. If they like videos, put it in a course format. And I feel like a lot of people are sitting on a goldmine of content and knowledge and wisdom, and they just need to repurpose it into different ways and package it up to suit the person that needs to learn what they can teach.
And that, to be untimely, normally I would stick this in at the end, but I think that's the training material that you're offering my audience. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a free guide workbook that goes along with an audio of how to get paid to be you and the 9 steps to monetize yourself. So it's just, again, if people want to listen in and then they want to do the workbook and do the work, because nothing gets done if you don't take action.
Right.
But that's a really great opt-in on my site. It's the key one because it relates exactly to where my expertise lies and what I love teaching people.
Perfect. We'll put the link to that in the show notes today at hillaryhendershot.com/166. And I was going to ask you, you went out on your own and with this blog, and I was going to ask, well, are you a particularly gifted writer? Is it a skill set that is just gold for you? But then you started talking about all the other things you were creating. You're doing video, multimedia, coaching, training, teaching. It seems like you were far more responsive to what your audience is saying they wanted and delivering it in creative ways. Is that how you thought about it?
Yeah, you nailed it. I feel like, one, I just love learning and sharing. I love all sorts of mediums for getting the message out there. But in particular, I think one thing I do consistently well is asking the people that I'm trying to help what they need.
And so if someone's listening and she's taking cues from, how you launched your, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't blogging just massively saturated right now? Or you more have kind of a dynastic empire? You're not really a blogger.
No, I guess I'm not anymore. I would say my podcast is my favorite medium for things out there.
Yeah.
But I don't think blogging's saturated. And it's just like podcasting's not saturated. Like when I started in podcasting, I already thought I'd missed the boat. When I started in blogging, I thought I'd missed the boat. the thing is that if you stay true to yourself and genuine to what you can show up and share as your unique advantage, your unfair advantage, I feel like there's still a platform for everybody where you really excel and shine. And it's all about finding your niche, your little niche of people who think the world of you, who get a lot of value from you and grow from there. What I think is that people give up too early, or they don't really treat it as a business. And I didn't treat my blog as a business for about 6 months. And when I did, everything shifted for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think rather than just being a hobby and a fun thing that I wrote, I actually got serious about, I need to build an email list. I need to build some offers. I need to build some sales funnels. I need to get visibility. I need to blog on other sites. I need to guest post here. I need to interview there. And all of that takes time. I'm not going to say it's always easy, but it was just fun for me. It was like all the jigsaw pieces of the puzzle fitting together and looking at what works and what didn't and what I should absolutely say yes to and what I needed to just cut out so that I could 100% focus on growing the platform and the message and sharing it.
What have you cut out, may I ask?
I cut out one-to-one coaching because it wasn't scalable as much as I love it. And I think it's really good to do early on, as you probably would advise as well. It gets you into the hearts and minds of the people and what the challenges are and their problems. And I think it's a really great way to understand the people that you want to serve, but then it's not possible to scale from there. So that's when I went into group coaching or programs.
And so now, well, I guess I asked you before for the breakdown of the pie in terms of your revenue streams, and then I didn't wait for the answer. So I apologize for that. But can you speak to the evolution of that and give us a sense of, what percentage of your income comes from what services? What are you doing that's paying you well?
Yeah, I think so. Back then for the suitcase entrepreneur, courses were around 40 to 50% of my income. Sponsorships for the podcast around 10 to 15, affiliates, commissions around 10 to 15. And then it really just depended on what I was promoting at the time or where I was at in my business.
Okay.
And then I reduced those down because I felt like I was, it's great having lots of revenue streams and I totally advise it. But when you've got many, it's really good to keep a close eye on it and look at it every 3 to 6 months and say, which of these 3 bring me the most? And which of those 3 also light me up the most and are where I'm in my genius zone and in flow and feels really good.
Yeah.
So that was really important. And so I cut out a lot of my ebooks and digital products and focused more on one particular course and a membership. And it's funny because I've come sort of full circle now that I'm here in 2020 as NatalieSisson.com after reinventing myself as the suitcase entrepreneur. And I'm just really enjoying the singular focus of an awesome membership for women wanting to earn 10K a month and more, and a course that is all about launching your damn course. And between those 2 things, it feels like there's something for the people who are sort of starting out or wanting course as a revenue stream that can build it into their business or build a business from it. And then there's these women who are already in business and wanting to take it to the next level. And it's taken quite a while, I think, to just get that singular focus. I mean, I think as entrepreneurs, we see ideas, we create ideas and we want to act on them all. But I've had to just keep coming back to this focus of what is my mission, what is my why, and which of these things serves my audience in the best possible way.
I love it. And I would expect that sort of evolution or growth because most people transition who do one-on-one coaching transition out of it eventually, just because you have to charge so much if you're going to keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you one more question that can be relatable for my listener. And then I want to ask you about this designing your lifestyle. So if someone is looking, let's say she's a person who has lots of Renaissance experience in lots of areas of life. She listens to your recording, your teaching about how to monetize yourself and what you know. How do you start? If she's full-time, what are the first 3 or 4 things she should do?
Yeah, so it's a really great question. And I think it always relates back to what I teach first with my clients, even though they're sometimes like, just let's get into the action, is understanding your why you do what you do. And I know when you're starting out, you may not know that, but you certainly know what you don't want to be doing and what doesn't light you up and what doesn't fit with your skills and your knowledge and your life experience. So I think that's quite a good way to cut out a lot of the extraneous stuff and just focus in on what you do want to do. And then as you talked about, and it kind of comes a little bit into lifestyle design, is what is the one single thing that you could create, offer, and put out there that would have the most impact on your life and your time that would also let you test the market and test how that feels. And it usually is when you start out, and you probably know this, it's usually a service-based or a coaching or a consulting-based because it's the most immediate path to revenue. You can charge You can offer a value and they will pay you.
Right.
You don't have to spend time creating a course or a digital product, which takes time, but is super lucrative. And you also can test very quickly, and you can put your prices up, you can offer more things within it, and you also learn a heap about your audience. So I feel like that is where I would 100% still to this day suspect that somebody should start, because you learn pretty quickly within a month or two whether that works for you and how you want to change things up, how much effort you're putting in for the reward and the return, how much impact you're making, and whether it actually does light you up and feel like you're in flow. And from there, you're smart about it, right? You look at what would be complementary to this. Would it be a sort of a done-for-you service, or would it be a monthly membership, or would it be a retainer package, or would it be partnering with somebody who can offer the things that I can't? And go from there and look at also the ways in which you want to earn revenue. Do you want active revenue streams like coaching courses, or do you want some more residual revenue streams?
So as an entrepreneur, when you first start out, you're excited just to have money. You're excited just to have customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And pretty soon you can find yourself with a 40 or 60 hour a week job. Mm-hmm. And, you address this specifically in your TED Talk. So how do you think about systems and boundaries and frameworks that you keep in place so that you have the experience of freedom and success at the same time?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. I think the thing that I did early on, even though I learned the lesson the hard way, doing those super silly hours, was being really intentional about my priorities in life and where I wanted to spend my time. So what could I take out of my business, or what was no longer serving me or making me happy? How could I take that out, and what could I double down on and focus on that I could really grow, so that I was doing more but with less, and I was earning more for less of my time and energy, and still being able to make an impact. And the second thing I did was start getting really ruthless about my boundaries of time, of when people could contact me, when they could book in with me, when they could reach me, and when I was in my creative zone or my content creation zone. And the third thing that I did was get very clear on my perfect day. So what time do I want to get up in the morning? How do I want to spend my first hour just for me? When do I want to be doing my most important work? When do I want to be doing my strategy? When do I want to be doing the admin, email, etc.? How much time out do I want? How much time with my partners, friends, family do I want? How much time out in nature, exercising? And it's fascinating how I feel like when you first start in business, you just all in on your business. Everything else just fits in around it. You just make it happen in all the wee hours of the morning. And when you've grown into it a bit, you get to say, hang on a minute. I know that my energy is best at this time of the day. This would be the smartest time to be doing this. I know I love doing interviews or client calls at this time of the day. This would be really good. And then you start calendar blocking and get very, very intentional, as I said, about your boundaries and where you do your best work. And I don't know why more people don't do this, because it actually only takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes each morning to just get your plan on for the day. What's your priorities? What are your goals? What's on your to-do list? How's that going to move the needle in your business and in life? And then commit to that. And I feel like a lot of people, including myself from time to time, aren't true to our words. We say that we want all these things, but we don't really, because if we did, we would make them happen, and we would move heaven and earth and create all the things to just go for it.
I know. It's like the meme that they're passing around right now about the pandemic, about how husbands now have to answer for all the honey-do list items. And for years, they've been saying, I'll do it when I have time. It's like, oh, you're at home. You're not working. I guess that wasn't the right excuse.
I hadn't seen that meme, but I love it. You're so true. If you can't get that thing done in this pandemic, then you will never get it done. And it's clearly not something you really want to do.
Yeah. The best thing I've done for myself is I don't take appointments before noon my time. So that's when I work out. I strategize the day. I can do writing or get my emails, because I have to be responsive to emails because I do have one-on-one clients. But it's like a whole different life, right? Now that I have my morning to myself. What's your favorite thing that you do for yourself in terms of your calendar?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So I do have my power hour in the morning, which is yoga followed by a short meditation, which I'm working on, and journaling.
Yeah.
But I also love that at 2 p.m. I stop work, which is newer for me, but it's working really well. And from 2 till 4, I have this big gap in my calendar, which is just for re-energizing, exercising, reading, time out in nature with the dogs. It could be learning, but either way, it's not working. And it's made a big difference. And then I get into writing my book, which is one of my focuses right now. But I think, again, it's a bit like that Pomodoro. It's condensed my day down from 8 till 2 with the short breaks in between. And then I get to have creative Natalie re-energized time.
Yeah.
And it's made a huge difference.
Awesome. Natalie, thanks for your time today. We'll make available to my audience your Monetize Yourself with what you already know training. And I just really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Hillary.
Hey, Profit Boss. If after listening to today's episode, you think you might be ready to take meaningful actions with your wealth and perhaps consider working with me and my firm in some way, then I'd love to hear from you. Just go to hillaryhendershot.com/hello. That's Hillary with one L and Hendershot with two T's. .com/hello. When I'm not sitting behind the mic, I'm running Hendershot Wealth Management. We're a fee-only fiduciary financial advisory firm. We work with women and couples to take their finances to the next level. Everything I talk about here on the show gets personalized and put to work for my clients. So I ask you, why wait till tomorrow when you can start realizing your full wealth potential today? The life you want to live, it doesn't have to wait. Just imagine the freedom and joy you'll experience when you've secured your retirement and enjoyed the years leading up to it. That's what I want for you. That's what I do for my clients. And if that's what you want for yourself, just head on over to my website right now, hillaryhendershot.com/hello. All of our initial conversations are totally complimentary. So let's just see where a friendly conversation may lead. hillaryhendershot.com/hello. As we wrap things up here for today, I need to review with you the things I have to disclose as a fiduciary financial advisor offering wealth management services through my firm, Hendershot Wealth Management, LLC. You should know that the opinions I express on Profit Boss Radio are my own, and they can change. The content I provide in the show is for general education. It's not intended as specific investment advice, nor do I recommend any specific financial products. Unlike how I roll at home with my husband, I can't guarantee that my statements, opinions, or forecasts are always 100% right. Of course, I wish I could peek into that proverbial crystal ball, but so far, I haven't found it. Past performance is not indicative of future results. I talk a lot about indexes, and I want you to know you can't actually buy an index because, of course, when you take a list of companies and create a product that allows people to invest in those companies, there are fees and expenses involved that reduce returns. Remember, all investing involves risk, which, as you know, means you could lose your money. And I have to tell you that there is no guarantee that any investment plan or strategy will be successful. And that should keep my lawyers happy. Have a great day.